The Hunters Guild poured many resources into their investigation of the island district. Manpower, equipment, zenny. The cost of this operation was varied and steep. And yet, to the chagrin of guild bookkeepers, there was an understanding that even this would never be enough. While the islands held many stories and discoveries worth pursuing, its greatest bounties would surely hide beneath the waves, in the watery plains and flooded caves of the surrounding oceans. These vast troves of wonder are, alas, entirely denied to the guild. While hunters raised in Moga are excellent swimmers, they cannot dive deep enough or long enough to fulfill the kind of research necessary to truly grasp the island district. But still, the guild happily investigated within their narrow limits, with the hope that as they deepen the understanding of the islands and their ecosystems, that the oceans will gradually also reveal glimpses of what they hide. An early example of this manifested itself when, during their early contacts with the natives, guild hunters heard of a water-dwelling monster species that the villagers of Moga had a long-standing feud with. They described it as serpentine, with a moist, elastic hide that was an excellent construction material. At regular intervals, these monsters would gather on land, and the Mogans had a tradition of hunting them during this time. In return, these monsters would often wreck the Moga fishing boats, tearing the wood apart with their horrendous teeth. Intrigued, the guild stationed lookouts where the natives had described the creatures to make landfall, and before long, they were indeed spotted. With their slender bodies and aquatic features, they were quickly identified as a species of leviathan, and given the name Ludroth. These medium-sized leviathans can be easily distinguished by their yellow hide, which is moist and squishy. They have well-developed front limbs, while their hind legs are more reminiscent of flippers. Their long tails also sport a dorsal fin that aids in swimming. As these features suggest, the Ludroth are exclusively found in areas with abundant water sources and access to large bodies of water. Given their aquatic bodies, finding Ludroths hanging around on land at all may seem surprising. Their moist hide is their lifeline, and were it to dry out, the Ludroth would perish not long after. To ensure that this does not occur, Ludroth grow a special kind of tissue. Along the neck and abdomen run lines of sponge-like growths called immature sponge, which serve the same purpose as its namesake. This tissue can store water when exposed to it. By soaking their sponge in water, Ludroth gain a portable reservoir that hydrates their skin as they move around on land, allowing them to venture onto terra firma regularly. It is in fact this immature sponge that makes Ludroth hide valuable. With this ability, the Ludroth hunt both in water and on land. While they are often seen in groups, they are not particularly social and will simply attack all at once when they see prey. They are omnivorous, but prefer animal protein and seem generally uninterested in plants such as algae. Their teeth form a hardened edge, seemingly specialized at cracking open the shells of crustaceans. Ludroth are known to be triggered into hunting mode by the sound of splashing water, and groups of them have been seen assaulting even large land monsters when near the water's edge. However, their sponge can only hold a limited amount of water, and so Ludroth cannot spend an extended time on land. In the water, they are quite formidable, able to hunt other leviathans such as Epioth when in groups. They have been noted to be a little too slow and clumsy to reliably catch smaller fish, though. While Ludroth don't generally cooperate very well, they do travel in groups, and can often be found patrolling seashores or resting in flooded caves in packs. For a while, the guild was content to simply participate in Moga's hunt of these leviathans, gathering valuable data with every excursion. However, as time went on, a few details began to stick out as odd. Recovered specimens revealed that all Ludroth had the same reproductive organs. They were all female. The structure of the reproductive system also seemed to exclude asexual behaviors such as parthenogenesis or cloning, meaning that this was indeed a species with 2 or more sexes. And yet, none of the slain Ludroth were conclusively discovered to be male. This seemed to suggest that male Ludroth were either rare or elusive and had yet to be seen at all. Another oddity appeared to reinforce this hypothesis. The marks made on Moga fishing boats did indeed line up with the teeth and claw shape of Ludroth, but they were much too large, indicating that they had been made by an individual that could have been more than twice as large as regularly seen Ludroth. These speculations lingered for a while, until a guardsman contacted the guild with a long-awaited report. A massive Ludroth, leading a pack of small females across the submerged plains, had been sighted. Hunters were dispatched immediately, and once they returned, they had successfully confirmed the existence and characteristics of the male Ludroth, commonly referred to as royal Ludroth. Male Ludroth are born disproportionately rarely, and of those that are, not all of them live long enough to grow into a fully matured state. Those that do reach sexual maturity, however, undergo a startling transformation. Their body enlarges significantly beyond even the largest females, as muscles begin sprouting all around the creature. Its immature sponge develops into a proper sponge mane, an enormous structure of bulbous tissue that spans from the collar all the way down to the middle abdomen. This sponge mane is made up of hair-like fibers interwoven into a sturdy mesh, making it both highly resistant to impact and slash attacks, while also being extremely porous, extending the Leviathan's water storage capabilities. Spines integrated into the mane allow it to be puffed up for intimidation when necessary. Sticking out at the front of the mane are between 3 and 5 phallic crests with blue tips, which can be extended at will. The royal Ludroth's front limbs are much more developed than those of the females, and even resemble those of many land-dwelling monsters. This feature has in fact given rise to the hypothesis that the ancestors of Ludroth, and perhaps of Leviathans as a whole, originally lived on land. Any conclusive evidence regarding that idea is however currently pending. One male royal Ludroth claims up to 20 females as its harem, forming packs that travel together. While Ludroth are generally uncooperative, in the presence of a dominant male, they can be persuaded to employ sophisticated social behavior and hunting strategies. When led by a male, a Ludroth gang can reliably hunt even large prey on land, as the royal Ludroth's ability to stay away from water for long periods makes it excellent at scouting out territory and leading prey to the water's edge. Once formed, a Ludroth harem claims an enormous territory, enforced both on land and in water by the Alpha. Royal Ludroth are quite aggressive, because they are under constant threat. When a male first matures, its first order of business is to find an established harem and push out its current alpha male. When two males meet, they puff up their manes and display their crests, aiming to intimidate the other without combat. Fluffiness, moisture, shape, all can be the key to outshining a rival and ending a conflict before it even starts. While their manes offer serious protection to their vital spots, Having it damaged can severely impact their ability to form harems, so both the incumbent and the usurper prefer bark over bite. However, this is often not enough, and male Ludroth often engage in brutal warfare. This is so frequent, in fact, that most Ludroth harems end up having a different royal Ludroth every month or so. The male is thus right to be fiercely territorial. The royal Ludroth does not just fight off rival males, however. It must contend with other monsters, and also humans who attempt to carve off some of its sponge. The Leviathan has a variety of weapons at its disposal. Its massive body can ram and crush smaller opponents, and its thick tail can be whipped around to inflict devastating impacts. Thanks to its large water storage, the Royal Ludroth can endure longer fights, and even move with enough force to somewhat make up for its clumsiness on land. Its endurance is further enhanced by its ability to produce dash extract. Originally discovered in the body of the Gypseros species, this compound is a natural stimulant found in certain monster bodies that can slow down muscle fatigue and allow for extended exertion. The Royal Ludroth uses dash extract in conjunction with its water supply to rush down opponents violently. Its powerful claws are mostly developed to dig into the ground and allow for reliable movement, but they will slash opponents apart all the same if necessary. But this Leviathan is not a mere brute. It can also use a devious secret weapon to trip up and slow down enemies. The skin under its mane can absorb the water stored in the sponge and funnel it into a specialized organ, classified by the guild as an aqua sac. In this organ, the absorbed water mixes with body fluids into a white foamy mucus, which the Royal Ludroth can spit out from its mouth. This mucus hinders movement and saps the stamina of those caught in it, slowing targets and leaving them wide open for a follow-up attack. But the Royal Ludroth's stamina is not endless. Fighting, and especially using its mucus attack, will eventually deplete its water storage, leaving the Leviathan a shriveled, pathetic thing. In these cases, the Royal Ludroth will hurry back into either a body of water or a waterfall, and soak its mane anew, revitalizing itself within a few short minutes. Royal Ludroths and their harems tend to try and stay in or near the water or their caves as much as possible, except during the breeding season. When the time is right, the group moves on to open land near water and begins a mating marathon, where the male is constantly busy. Not long after, the females begin laying clutches of 1 to 4 eggs. During this time, the male uses its massive mane to hydrate its mates, as the females are not nearly as used to being on land, and the mating and laying process takes a lot out of them. By continuously soaking its sponge and then shaking it out near the females, the male can keep its harem from drying out. Once the hatchlings emerge, they are completely ignored by their parents, and must crawl into the near shallow water to spend their youth eating worms and small critters. Only once they are large enough to withstand currents will they seek out larger bodies of water. The relationship between humans and Ludroth can be somewhat complex. While the regular Ludroth are not very problematic by themselves, a fully formed harem led by an alpha male is a different story altogether. Ludroth harems prefer to establish their territories near a source of flowing water, for example rivers. This can lead to issues if there is already a human settlement near that river, and since the Royal Ludroth is so territorial, it is a recipe for disaster. Turf wars between rival Royal Ludroth are also quite violent, and can easily wreck an area. The mucus is especially problematic. its sticky compounds leak into the soil and make it unusable for agriculture, which is devastating if a male appears near farmland. On the other hand, Ludroth materials have various uses and benefits. Pieces of the male sponge mane make for excellent cleaning tools, and lining a bag with Ludroth hide can make it entirely waterproof. The tails of fully grown males are often used in shipbuilding for their sturdiness, and the scales of elderly royal Ludroth shimmer in rainbow colors, making them very valuable as jewelry. Additionally, the standard issue Ludroth armor used by guild hunters is considered quite stylish, and many civilians have begun requesting that the guild make replicas of them available for purchase to the general public. And lastly, while the ethics of this use are somewhat debated, at least one noble family within guild territory maintains a tradition of keeping a royal Ludroth as a court pet monster. Ludroth have, since their discovery, been sighted in a variety of habitats and are now, years later, well known to any that dare travel on or near water. But what most people are familiar with is actually just one of two known species of Ludroth, with the second one being actually quite obscure. That is mostly a result of it being very rare and quite problematic to actually research. But still, every once in a while, on the islands near Moga or the misty peaks around Yukumo, one may spot a purple Ludroth. This Ludroth subspecies is instantly recognizable by its coloration. Its scales are a sickly white-gray, while its claws are a striking red. Most impressively, its sponge mane is a mass of dazzling purples and violets, with clusters of sponge all around the body displaying this vivid color. In terms of behavior, the purple Ludroth closely matches that of the yellow species. It strolls around a massive territory, usually near water. It is aggressive and standoffish, and will attack intruders mercilessly. But one difference between the two species continues to puzzle researchers. While seemingly adult male purple Ludroths have now been spotted a handful of times, no evidence of smaller, maneless purple Ludroth has ever been recovered. This presents quite a drastic change compared to the yellow Ludroth, where the smaller individuals vastly outnumber those that grow up to become maned. New insights into the purple Ludroth have, however, allowed for some theorizing into the matter. Tissue samples of the mane and scales revealed that this Ludroth subspecies produces a highly toxic compound in its sponge. Why and how that happens is currently unclear, but the effects of it are plain as day. The toxin destroys certain kinds of pigments, causing the scales to take on that dull white color. Simultaneously, the toxic compound itself has a purple color when concentrated, which is displayed prominently in the mane, where this poison accumulates. The presence of this compound has wide-reaching effects on the life of the purple Ludroth. It still stores massive quantities of water in its mane, where it mixes with the compound into a toxic sludge. This sludge oozes out of the mane continuously, and the purple Ludroth cannot move a muscle without splashing the toxic liquid all around itself. This may explain why no small individuals of the species have been sighted. While the large and heavy male might be able to shrug off the poison or even be immune to it, it's likely that the toxic water would not do much to hydrate a harem of small females, and might even perhaps hurt them. This complication would likely enforce selective pressure onto the species to adapt. Whether this means that all purple Ludroth, male and female, grow the mane and become visually indistinguishable, or that females might live entirely apart from the males, is currently unknown. What is, however, clear is the danger that the purple Ludroth poses to any environment it emerges in. Even just by walking, it spreads the toxic ooze around itself, spoiling the soil and killing off plant life. While the purple Ludroth doesn't seem to swim as much as its cousin, if it does enter a body of water, it immediately darkens as the toxic compound spreads throughout, causing significant damage to aquatic wildlife. When threatened, the purple Ludroth will spit mucus from its mouth like its yellow relative, and this mucus, too, carries the toxin. As a result, the guild classifies purple Ludroth hunts as high priority and high risk. There are also benefits to this discovery, however. The poison of a purple Ludroth is a cocktail of many common natural toxins, and many multi-purpose antidotes can be derived from it if it is used as a chemical base. Next time on Monster Hunter Ecology. In the bubbling mire, in the fetid mud, life blossoms, solid as rock. A vanguard lies still in the dark swamp. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to all my patrons and YouTube channel members, without whom this content would not be as easy or feasible to make. A very special thank you to Theopuz, Lufish, Morgulblank, Tactywolf, Thyla Zero, Glitchy, Jacob Coleman, Hellbug Hunter, Shebo, M1Have12, Regal Eagle, Ronger97, Quali, Mad Hat 124, My Name Gone, The Dollarfish, Sheba, King Dre, Ryan Hook, Veraxis, Thick, Kuroneko, Zjan H. Vjorgensen, Alistair, Jacob the Numbnut, Soruka, Sir Newt Newt, Evie, Rambling Robin, Hashi, Black Ace 202, Dissy, Hubbo Himbro Mirror, Magenta Magenta, Russell, Vulgar Beast, Person 212, Claire Miboon, Oak Wood Tree, Mr. Pyramid, Makot 02, Geo, Nils Schlatter, Iron Camel, and Nah. I'm going to bed. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.